call the meeting to order. And we're at remote participation, so we need a roll call, starting with Nicole.
Nicole here.
Jefferson here.
Dan here.
Bruce is also here. With us tonight, we have a few people, Fiona, John Grant, and Jean Christie. The first thing we have is just a brief update on the finalization of the housing production plan.
Yep, Bruce, I can actually take that if you'd like. Yep, absolutely. So submitted to EOHLC. Karen turned around the comments from the joint meeting between the Select Board, Affordable Housing Trust, and the Planning Board. And I got the minutes from Amber, uploaded those, including and the agenda to the document, and submitted that. EOHLC responded saying that they received it and that they should be starting their review process and should let us know hopefully soon that it will be approved. So not a big update, but a good one nonetheless. So
Our job is done on this end, though,
job is done.
technically speaking. Okay, great. Thank you. So we have an update for 1727 Upton Streets. John, can you just give us brief highlights of the changes that you've made and any update on submittal to Concom and starting the process?
Yeah. Well, as you know, we did an informal submittal to ComCon about 3 weeks ago, in which we had all the property, we had the everything but 174 square feet of buffer that was touched by the building. And we got sort of a unique response from them, which led us to say, you know what, let's just get it all out of the thing. So we redesigned the building again, made some adjustments, and then we were actually able to do that without losing any units. I had to put some parking spaces inside the building underneath, which raised some of the prices, but we also get rent for covered parking, which is not a bad thing. And for seniors, usually covered parking is a pretty good thing. So so we actually came out after about 2 weeks of screwing around with it with a product that actually worked. We handed that over to Jean Christie in the civil engineering group. They reviewed it and have blessed it, and we are putting that now in a package to go to a submission for ComCon, and also for the development staff, Fiona's
Planning Board.
Planning board submission. Beyond that, we've spent a lot of time with the city discussing some environmental issues. We had a lot of environmental issues we sort of expected because of the first level environmental that was done. But when we went back and did a level 2 environmental, we found out that a couple of the tanks that were supposed to be removed were not in fact removed and are still there. And the other thing was that after we took a look at at some of the ground borings and the subsurface borings that we had, we saw that two of the wells that we dug had trace higher than acceptable trace elements of lead in them. Why is that a particular issue for us? Well, the elements are right underneath the pit where the mechanics worked on the trucks. And that's the only place, just 2 pits that were right underneath where the trucks were worked on. However, our partner in this project, which is Brendan Holmes, particularly spooked by this, and they had a bad experience with this sort of lead migration, and they were worried about it going into the wetlands or into the adjacent house somehow. Not that we have anything that leads us to believe it is going to travel, but once burned, twice shy. So we had a conversation with Evan Broussard. He has had in turn a conversation with the solicitor for the city about ways we can take care of this, where they can somehow we'd already figured that we're going to spend quite a bit of money, like $500,000 on remediation. But we weren't really expecting to have to look after these wells to make sure there was no migration of lead. And so we're trying to arrive at a deal with the city whereby they will indemnify us from the long-term mitigation and review of those perimeter wells. So that's another thing we've done. In the interim from there, we've also talked to a number of limited partner investors, which we have a number of responses from. Actually, after today's announcement that the Fed is getting softer on interest rates, that they're going to drop next year, that was really good news for the project. Also, we got some new construction numbers in that seem to show us a downward trend in construction because evidently the workload in Massachusetts is going way down because now the projects that were supposed to go ahead have moved ahead. So we worked on that. We also went out and got estimates from a number of PACE loan groups. Are you guys familiar with what PACE loans are? They're loans that are made as it's almost like tax increment financing for investment in high energy efficiency buildings. And so they will pay up to 1/3 of the overall mortgage of the project in a lower interest rate non-recourse loan. So we actually have a group called Stavros who gave us a pretty amazing rate on that. And so they sort of signed up and accepted the project. We have 2 or 3 banks we're talking to as well. So, I mean, Kathleen had asked me what we do is in project management, and what we do essentially is change things and then work with people and then try and make everything work and balance. And that's sort of the joy of developing things, is because nothing stays still. Everything constantly moves. And so we're just trying to catch up with it. We think now, in terms of the ComCon and I think planning, that we have a solution that we can get through. So we're going to spend the money on finishing off the plans and moving the project forward so we can make the submissions and get the project moving. But I wanted to give you that update so you understood what we did. If you have any questions about any of that, I'm more than willing to answer any of them. And I can also turn you over to Gene, who can explain in depth and precisely what the civil engineer did minute by minute. So
I don't think they need a minute by minute breakdown.
okay. Okay. Yeah.
How long do you think before you actually get the submittal done to Concom, Gene?
I think we're still a few months out, if not 4 or so. There's still a number of things that have to happen because of, if we're going to try and do conservation and planning concurrently, which I think is probably the recommendation of the town, so we're not doing many iterations of drawings. We need to do some soil testing. We need the survey completed. We need traffic counts performed so that we can have a traffic study for Fiona's team to review. So there's a lot of pieces that have to go into this. But you know, this winter is a great time to do it. You know, while we're all sitting inside just working our rear ends off. So I think, you know, we're looking at probably a March, April submittal at this time.
We're really looking at a February submittal, but Chris,
It's gonna be tight to do February, John.
Gene's
But
still
we
looking
can
at
always
a
try. We
March
can always
submittal.
try.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions from the trust, technical or otherwise, for John and Gene? Okay, John, you just we'll have you to the January meeting and just keep us apprised of.
We will,
issue
and
with it.
we'll be much more precise when we send bills out to tell you exactly what we did over the process. It's kind of hard to explain because there's so many things you're doing on so many levels. But it all adds up to the final product, which is trying to get the budget to match and getting the interest rates right. The good news is it looks like the Fed has decided they're going to drop interest rates 3 to 5 times next year, which will make this project much, much easier to finance and get done. So that's good news.
It
I
makes
had
for the management fee and too, if you're showing up, giving us the updates, because that's
Yeah.
obvious stuff that's been going on for the month. Fiona?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I'm not sure if this is too granular for this forum, but John, the bedroom mix, was it 1 and 2 bedrooms?
It's efficiencies, 1s and 2 bedrooms. There's no 3s.
Okay.
I mean, we could probably get a couple 3s in there, but from what we saw in the market study that we had, that the biggest demand right now in your area is for 1s, 2s, and efficiencies from people who are moving in the area and are having homes built and don't have any place to live, or people who are, essentially sold their house, and while they're looking for a new house, need some place to live while they're waiting to go to another house. So
I would say
Okay.
there's certainly a very high demand for 3-bedroom affordable units.
yeah,
Much inventory
um,
on regular market anyways, so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the project also has to work, so.
well, that's one of the problems. The 3-bedroom units are the least efficient in terms of our ability to get, to pay for the units. So they actually lose money dramatically.
And,
Alright.
and John's 128 total parking spaces.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, it's going to be a little bit more than that now.
Okay.
I
was gonna
believe we're
say.
at 132 now with the indoor
Okay.
parking and the outdoor parking.
Does that
Um,
include the,
It does not include the other lot that's over where we've got another 70 to 100 spaces over there.
and Fiona, I mean, if I'm correct, I know we mentioned this before, but you can use that reserve parking. 20% of your overall can be that reserve.
Yeah, so there's a provision in our bylaw that allows for reserve parking. There's also a provision that allows for shared parking. So that's something that the applicant can take advantage of. But yeah, that was my follow-up question about, the additional area where the tree barn is sitting now. Okay. Okay, and we don't have a final on height yet, John?
On the height of the building?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's the same as we gave you originally. I think we're at 45 feet or something like that, right?
okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
So I think that was to the eaves. But let me check back in with you on that as we develop the building a little bit more. I know we want to get a 12-foot ceiling height on the first floor so that we have the common rooms and all the amenity spaces have a higher ceiling. On the regular floors, the finished ceiling height is 9 feet, but the floor to floor height is typically around 11. So you have 33 feet in 11, okay? And then you have another 14 feet from the first floor. That's why I said 45, right around. Okay,
45 is good, 50 is the
50 to max, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, and obviously, John and Jean, that you can reach out to my office if we need to talk about. I think that it might be beneficial for us to go through some of these more granular elements that will be required, and just so for my own confirmation, but obviously before.
Now that we have a floor plan, Fiona, we can actually do that.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. This is good. That's awesome. And yeah, Jean, you and I, we should chat about, the application, what that entails, and
Sure.
it's on our website, but it's probably.
It's, yeah, well, we can confirm things and talk about
Sure.
process together.
Has there been any other discussion about the barn, Fiona? Because I haven't heard anything
No, and we're not
about
gonna
it.
have any more discussion about the barn,
Okay,
just parking.
all right.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the same parties are still interested in preserving it and doing what they can. I mean, I haven't heard anything since the last time.
It doesn't matter what we decide at this particular venture, those folks will come out during the special permit process, especially
Okay.
the public hearing aspects of it. So there'll be another bite at the apple when we get in front of the planning board.
All right, but we're not planning on, we'll show without the barn. However, the funny thing is we can actually leave the barn, but it will be in the middle of a parking lot. you know.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what you're gonna do with that thing
Yeah.
outside of sell the cinder blocks, but
Mhm.
as we get closer to submittal, when you come meet with us in January, between John and Jean, could you just make sure we're cognizant of the any waiver requests that are gonna be made in the process?
Mhm.
Sure.
I'd certainly like to see those before we submit.
Okay, no problem. We'll
Uh,
probably run through all the drawings with you before we submit, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, the granular stuff, I'm sure is going to be in, Fiona's wheelhouse and,
Mhm.
the technical aspect and technical review. You're going to use Graves, or I imagine the planning board is going to use Graves. So
Yeah.
it's not too much that we need here. The waivers is stuff that, some of us have a lot of experience with, especially over the past couple of decades in town. What can fly, what doesn't fly, what's worked for other developers in the past that, we may be aware of to be helpful with. That's why those are things that can tie you up. So,
Okay.
and if we're not going to be, if we're 4 months out for a submittal and we're, 4 months in a special permit process, I just want to make sure everybody's realistic about timeframes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously from planning board's perspective, I mean, the more prep and up, materials that are finalized and, that traffic study that Jean was talking about, the stormwater, et cetera, like the more information you have up front, the faster the permit process will go. I mean, I'm hoping that, it wouldn't be 4 months, but
That's
Well,
always
it's
our
hard
goal,
to-
is to provide something that's complete, a complete application, so that we're not missing pieces and having to go back to a drawing board to
Yeah.
prepare them and prolong the process, so.
right. And it,
Look
yeah,
at the process though, public hearings are going to be a full month. You're going to move that into other things. If you're asking for, waivers, then those things are, going to take a little longer to consider, but
Mhm.
you got to figure at least 4 months.
I don't think we have any waivers that we need, do we, Gene?
I don't recall. I know Fiona had gone through an entire planning review, and that there was a couple things that were questionable based on our initial concept.
Mhm.
They may be moot at this point because we've changed things so much. But that's something that I can revisit this week and take a look at what may have changed in there.
Okay, yeah.
and I'm sorry, the final unit count, that was 126, right? I'm sorry, I should know, but
I believe it is 126, yeah.
okay. All right, awesome.
Great. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
Where'd everybody go?
thank you.
Nicole, you all set?
All
I
right,
can't keep hands
I'm
up.
all set.
thank you.
I
Bye.
Alright.
want to say I'm impressed that you got out of that wetlands buffer. I know from I watched that Concom meeting, but it sounds like that's like there, as we go through, there's going to be reason after reason after reason why we shouldn't do this. So just, getting one out of the way. Good.
Fair enough.
Well, I didn't want to put us through having to keep going back again, so we spent a lot of time trying to figure it out, and we figured it out. It's nothing was beyond figuring it out. Well, I won't even go there. I mean, 174 square feet drives me nuts, but it's okay. I found a way to get the thing around it. So we're good,
I mean, that's their job. So
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Take
Enjoy the
care.
rest
Have
of
a
the
nice night. Bye now.
Take care.
Next thing we have
Bye-bye.
is 25 Worcester Street. So just a brief update, because we don't have Kathleen with us tonight. We're gonna have to push this off. We weren't able to get the principals in here as well because they're still hashing this out. But essentially, the same arguments are, back and forth anyways, is how much language can be changed in the PNS before it violates the procurement process. So Kathleen's remaining cognizant of that. So hopefully they can come up with some type of agreement that keeps it inside the parameters that we advertised. So that's going to be punted till next month. If anybody has any, direct concerns over it, or, just reach out to Kathleen.
And Bruce, I think I sent an email about, I had been trying to follow up about the initial question that was posed by Andy's team. And I was able to get in touch with Mass Housing, and basically, the concerns that were raised by Andy don't seem to be an issue. So I'm hoping that he's gonna be able to navigate that. I think it was in the OAS application and the financing that's part of that application process without an issue. I mean, I think there was his initial concern was that our safe harbor status would affect him being able to secure that financing mechanism. And I was able to confirm with EOHLC and Mass Housing that that's not a thing. So that's good.
The, I don't know, I think they're blurring some of the lines of, project viability, the legalities of, and the actual, bureaucratic process, but we'll, Kathleen, this is what we asked Kathleen to handle, so I guess we'll just.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of different funding streams that are going to be going into this project to make it to make it work for them. And they're probably just getting lines crossed or something. So that's my
Well, they're
update.
broadening their approach of who they can go out and
Mhm.
introduce and the vehicle by which they can finance it. One of those things is to make sure this is an option on it, so
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
just do that. So, anybody have any questions about this that? Nothing, okay. Well, great. Now we're moving on to bills. We have in your packets, Amber gave us a nice one sheet with them all on it. Does anybody have any questions or concerns over the bills as they're presented? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to agree to pay and authorize the chairman to sign the bills as presented in the packet.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, starting with Nicole,
Nicole, I.
Dan,
Aye.
Andy, I.
Bruce is an aye. Oh, it's unanimous. There we go, Amber. We're good.
I could vote against it if you want me to.
No, it carries. We're good. We're off. There's not enough people here to oppose it. It's just 4 of us tonight. Okay, I'll sign those and we'll get them to the collector's office or whoever pays the bills for us. These should be coming out of Pulte funds. So while we use them. All right, does anybody have any issues with the minutes? And I will entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes of November 8th, 2023 and November 21st of 2023 as presented in the packet.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor by roll call, starting with Andy,
Andy, I.
Dan.
Aye.
Nicole,
Nicole, I.
Bruce is an aye. Passes as well. Wow, we're on a roll. That's everything, fellas and ladies.
That vote to adjourn.
Yep.
Always get hung up on that.
So
Yeah.
moved.
You've been voting no.
Well, I don't want to go home. All those in favor by roll call, starting with me, I'm an aye.
Dan, aye.
Nicole,
Nicole, I.
Andy, I.
thank you everybody for showing up.